Um, Quite fine, thanks.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good.
Hi,
The sun
Martha.
come out.
Hi, Limor.
Great to see you. So we are live. Just FYI, everything is recorded. And Chantal, I think we had Chantal last time, right?
I'm gonna get the camera on. Chantal, can you turn the camera on, or you have a technical issue?
I don't. I'm stuck. I don't know how to do it.
Well, normally there is a video on the left corner, a little kind of icon that you just have to click on.
What is
It's the same as the Rotary meeting. It's a Zoom.
Yeah. Okay, I'm doing it, but it doesn't come out. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I can hear you.
Okay.
Very well.
It would be nice to
Now
see you.
we need the picture. We need the picture. Let's see. I feel so inadequate.
Well, every time you'll make it work.
Okay. I see it. That's it.
Ah,
That's
and the
it.
light beam.
Oh.
So here we are, the international crowd. We have Limor in Israel, we have Marta in Poland, Chantal in south of France, and me in Prague.
Yeah, very international today.
Okay.
So do we wait 1 more minute, or do you want me to get started?
I think we can get started. It's 6 minutes after, so definitely we can get started. And as other people,
whoever comes is going to join in. So ladies, you've kind of, attended some before. I'm still going to, are you allowing me to share something? And
you should be able to share.
Okay.
Should be able to.
Okay. So since you kind of attended before, I will make the introduction a bit shorter. It's for me a pleasure to have Limor again, with us. Limor, you want to say a couple of words? So just to inform the crowd who is listening to us.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? I mean, we all know each other, but the others may not. So hi, everyone. I'm Limor, the Director of Mentorship at Part of Fly, and we're happy to have here today with us Karin Janton-Lepin. And Karin, why don't you tell us about all the things that you are doing about coaching with horses and coaching for success?
I will do that in a minute. Thank you, Limor.
Okay.
Before we get started, as you know, I like to start with welcoming the audience. So those of you who are watching this, it would be nice if you could remind us and put in the chat your name and the city you are living in or the country you are living in at the moment. And if you want to share with us also how you feel today. One of the benefit, I guess, or kind of changes of those situations is we kind of care about each other more than we used to. I don't remember any meeting having people saying, how are you? Just from 1 to 10, if you want to write, if you feel like it, how you feel today. And I know Limor is going to double check the chat. And I think we already have your LinkedIn. 2 more ladies seems to be joining, or 2 more people. So for those of you who haven't done it before, maybe the LinkedIn, I don't know if you say profile or link might be beneficial.
LinkedIn URL. I think all of us are connected, but I can.
Yes, just because it looks like 3 people are joining, or this is just me?
I don't see anyone new joining.
It says 3 more. Anyway, so here we go. The agenda is, again, who are you and what are you doing? I'm going to shortly introduce myself. And then the theme is connected to what we've done before. It's all about connection, but connection to keep us stronger. And I will get into more details a bit, in a minute. So for those of you who don't know me, yes, my name is Karin. I'd like to introduce myself as a European citizen with a French passport who has been practicing coaching for the past 23 years and mentoring for the past 10 years. And in addition to the classical coaching and mentoring, I also started 5 years ago a coaching with horses project. Now on Zoom, it's a bit more difficult to explain. However, I hope at some point to find a way to introduce that online. So those of you who are interested could discover the benefit of using horses in relationship and self-development. I know Marta is interested, so she's more than welcome to join us in Prague in order to, make you experience this beautiful connection. Now, what I would like,
Karin, my best friend back from the university now moved to Prague, have an open invitation to come and stay with her. They just have to wait at least until the second dose of vaccine and
So you already got
to
the first
obtain
one,
the
right?
passport. And I would be more than happy to attend.
No, you
I
already got the
really,
first. You got the first jab.
yeah, I got the
Congratulations.
first one. I'll be having the second one in July. It's AstraZeneca, so the period between is a bit longer. But
I'm so
yeah,
happy
I
for
have
you.
that in mind, and I'll be glad to attend.
Very nice. So we look forward to welcoming you in Prague. Now, this incident is a very small group. Whenever you want to jump in, just jump in. I like to have an interaction more than just doing my own just presentation, but at the same time, I understand sometimes people rather listen. So we have the option to do both. And the way I wanted to start is with actually a story I read recently. How many of you are familiar with tree planting?
I am.
Okay. So maybe you will definitely, support me in that sense. I learned that where is the best place to plant a tree?
Where?
Yeah. Well, what I find out that the best way is to plant a tree next to an existing one.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
And the reason is because actually they connect very strongly underneath with the roots. And I thought it was a very nice metaphor for connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's about as the tree goes older, the roots kind of get together and they support each other. So in many ways, I felt that this kind of metaphor of the roots of the trees next to each other's and supporting each other's is kind of a nice reminder for those of us who went through some difficult time in the past 15 months now, that as we are getting ready to re-enter, hopefully something that's semi-normal. I don't know if we're ever going to call that normal, but that's a different discussion. What do we do? And as we discussed before, being connected is a great way to survive difficulties and what I like to call to ride the difficulties of life. So how many trees did you plant in your garden, Chantal?
They are how many? Quite a few. 5.
Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And are they close to each other?
No, but there are trees on the ground, and you probably have read the book of Richard Powers on the trees, right?
You mean the German gentleman who writes about the tree talk, the tree whisperer?
No, he's American. Richard Powers, the overhaul story. But where did I plant my trees? Not next to one another, actually, but the park, as they call it now, since it is so well kept, has many trees. So I imagine the roots have all the chance to connect under
Underneath, underground. Now, Marta, did you have any idea that trees, connect better when they are next to each other and the power of having all the roots grafting together?
I mean, intuitively, probably yes. I've also heard the stories about male and female trees and bushes being kept together or being planted together. My dad usually takes care of planting trees and trimming, upkeeping them on our grounds. We have a cabin by the lake with about 300, 400 maybe square meters around it. So we also have a few trees there. And yeah, makes perfect sense that that the root system connects.
So now, if you kind of stretch that metaphor through relationship, when I was preparing this, I felt that actually one of the benefits, and we discussed that before, was to connect to each other's. And on this, it looks like Power to Fly did an amazing job, and they started to do all their networking and event online in January, right, Limor? I think they really started to activate their summit and all their connection online in January.
The summit is happening almost every month. I mean, you can look at the website.
When did it get started? Because I met you in February, so
when it started actually in June 2020. That was the first summit.
So as soon as the situation started to become difficult, they started to really reach out and offer support for mainly women, I guess, to network and to learn from each other. Am I correct?
Yes, and also to, we have guest speakers. I mean, it's more than just connecting. Obviously, there are a lot of guest speakers, a lot of interesting talks, a lot is going on. I mean, I highly encourage you to join. I mean, we have it actually next week with the next summit. So definitely it's a great opportunity. And you can look it on our website. Let me put the link. It's summit.powertofly.com, and you can see all the obviously the upcoming one, and every summit has a different theme. And the summit next week is about pride at work, because this month is the month for Pride Month, and we have another one. We have it approximately, every month or 2 months. We have the next one in July. We have one in September, October. So it's like every month or 2 months we do a summit. So you can check out the schedule.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like they really offer a lot of different opportunity to learn, to grow, to share. And for me, this is this kind of connection that goes first across the world. And it is really beneficial, because is how we manage to, for many people, I mean, especially the women, kind of stay connected and resilient through this past year, actually. Now, we discussed this before, but that will be a reminder. Staying connected, for me, what I've experienced, there is 3 important connections that are worth cultivating, nurturing, and developing. The first one is with nature. And on this, those of you who like to, so the easiest way, of course, is to go outside when possible, and all the different activities that we can do outside. And it seems to me that the lockdown, for those of you or us who couldn't go out, which some countries really limited the kind of going out, was a kind of a very strong reminder of the importance to connect outside. Mm-hmm. Then the other thing we discussed before is to connect to ourselves with different kind of routines. So I know, Limor, you go running regularly. I know Chantal goes walking regularly. Mm-hmm. Martha, did you find a way to nurture your own self this past year?
Well, actually, it was a bit about connecting with nature, going on hikes, going on walks, spending even more time than in the previous years in our cabin by the lake, where I also have my nifty little corner for reading, for journaling, and such stuff. Then there was also the lunch club that I discovered thanks to you.
Which club?
The lunch club
yes,
that you recommended.
That's Limon's credit.
Yeah, and I'm still regularly having online meetings there, so that's also cool.
So that's already on the
most
connecting
of my...
with others. Just give me a second. So with nature, did you do any kind of changes in your kind of usual connection with nature?
Probably yes. I guess I'm taking even longer walks now. As I've said, I'm spending more time by the lake, just in the nature. So I guess so. I'm trying to, especially since I'm working remotely. I don't commute to work on a daily basis. I'm trying to find other ways to go outside and enjoy the nature in ways that are, that are acceptable and permissible now.
Luckily, they're kind of reopening a little bit the opportunity to kind of go outside. Chantal, I know you go for a walk,
Yes.
what, every day for an hour?
Every day for an hour and more. And I have the privilege of having open space around me. So I am very privileged to look at trees everywhere I look. And it has been a tremendous help.
And you have the good excuse to have a dog that needs definitely some activity. So
Some
even if
activity.
you don't feel like it, the dog tells you,
Oh
can
yes,
you go out?
yes. He's agitated, and I have to go. And if I pronounce the word, walking in French, he's excited, and I just have to go.
Now, connecting to ourselves.
Oh yeah, same here. Same here, because I also have a dog. So.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And then connecting to ourselves, like we discussed before, like you mentioned journaling, you mentioned maybe yoga, maybe just, I know for Limo, it's also running. Limo, you go running every day?
Not every day. I do some kind of workout every day. I run about 3-4 times a week.
Now, last time I mentioned, and I know it might, that one of also the best advice I got recently, which I'm not saying I'm very good at, is to take kind of an hour off every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I even recommended that to a client of mine in order to, at some point, find time to self-reflect and to kind of recenter yourself. And very often when we're very busy, also years ago, there was a gentleman that was very well known in the American sport business. I think his name was McCormack, who was managing all the sport champion. And I never forget, he wrote a book like Everything You Never Learn in Harvard. It's a few decades. And he said that he kept an hour free in his schedule, not exactly to do nothing, but just in case something happened. Mm-hmm. Some people have like back-to-back appointment, and he kind of kept just time either to self-reflect or to just make sure that if something happened, he will have time to do it. So that's also something that as we re-enter the kind of more usual business world or whatever it is that we're going to do, might be kind of worth keeping something from what we've done during this pandemic. At least this is something. Now, to connect to the others, you mentioned the lunch club. Now, here's the interesting side that I would say for some people, especially the outgoing and the one that haven't stopped interacting with people, there will not be too much changes. But it seems that for some people that are more introverts, reconnecting with others might be a bit of a challenge. And I think, Marta, you mentioned something like this when we spoke a couple of months ago. I mean, because you haven't been back to the office for a while, right?
Yeah, that's right. I've been working remotely for about 15 months now, and I've been to the office like physically there only for a couple of days throughout this period. Last time actually on Monday. So in some ways it's been beneficial. Of course I enjoy not having to commute, being able to stay at home, spend more time with my family, with my dog. But on the other hand, I was really missing the atmosphere, the office, the people around. We've been keeping in touch mostly online. I've been able to meet up only with a small group of people throughout this time, as we've mostly been either in lockdown or the hospitality industry, so including cafes, restaurants, and so on and so forth, were closed, and so we mainly met at our places. But yeah, it's not like the real experience of having the whole team
But let
in
me
one
ask you, are you
place.
planning on going back to the office like the way before, or are the office going to do some readjustment?
We don't know yet. No official decision has been taken. It's a transitional period for us because my former company has been acquired by our competitor, and we don't know if we will ever be getting back to our former office, or if the company is planning to permanently have us work remotely. We're looking forward to that decision, and I guess we should know in a month or two, maybe, if anything permanent has been decided.
My understanding,
So
and
we'll
maybe
see.
more you can jump in, is that some companies that didn't think that they will, that people, I mean, they thought that maybe people will like to stay home better, are reconsidering reopening the office because of most of the employee would like to go back, interesting enough.
I
More,
haven't
did you
heard
hear
that,
anything
by
like
the
that?
way.
Huh?
I heard the opposite, that companies are interested to open the offices, and some companies want people to go back, and people don't want to go back to the office, or don't want to go back every day. So I assume that there are, different companies and different people, depending on, I know a lot of people really like and appreciate the opportunity to work from home and to save time. And I know many people, moved.
Yes,
more.
Martha?
From what I've heard, most of the employees would opt for a shared time, like 2 days in the office and 3 days at home, or the other way around. That was the most popular option.
What's interesting is that I also heard that, and then I was listening to another program, and because the idea is, what do we do with all these offices that are being empty for the past year, and how do you recycle them? And Chantal used to be in real estate, so I'm sure she can kind of but at the same time, some people are missing the connection. So yes, it goes back to what I was trying to say, which is some people are more introvert, might not want to go back to the office, even though I do believe it's crucial for social network and connection. I think this is where people are starting to realize, as much as it's annoying to share, the photocopy machine, even though nobody does that anymore, or the coffee machine or the kitchen, we need the interaction. We need the kind of human connection. There is a big difference between seeing somebody face to face and seeing someone through the computer. No matter how much we perceive things, half of the non-verbal is pretty much diluted into the screen. And it could be interesting to kind of see in the next 12 months how that evolves. I do believe if you get to commute every day for 4 hours, yes, you'd rather stay home. In Europe, I think it's less, people don't commute that much, I think, because it's smaller, but I'm not sure. I mean, I'm just saying is that it will be interesting to see who wants to go back, because I know my sister-in-law, for example, in Paris, she's desperate to go back to the office. And every time she spends one day in the office, she's like, yes, because she wants to see people. But she's also very much someone who needs to connect. Some other people, it depends on your job. So it will be interesting. I still feel that the connection is something that needs to be cultivated and nurtured at every level. And that's was one of the key learning for many people is the importance of a network to sustain our mental and emotional health. So the question is, how do we do that? After we took care of, of us nature-wise and people, here is one thing that I thought I will share because I like to be a bit more optimistic. It's finding joy. I know it sounds simple. However, here is something that you might know already, that actually, some people already look at the glass half empty and half full, right?
Yes.
But did you know that actually to help us survive, how our brain has learned to register negative experience more quickly than the positive one? So in some ways, we are programmed to be a mismatcher. We are programmed to look at the negative side first because it's a survival instinct. We look for the negative just in case we know we need to protect ourselves. So the question is, how do you reverse the mindset? Because it's a mindset issue. How do you shift from looking at the negative issues, kind of acknowledging it, but then focusing on the positive? And one of the benefits of focusing on the positive, it's easier to find joy in the positive than in the negative. So any idea how we can do that?
Oh, come on, Karin. Melancholy is beautiful. Nostalgia is beautiful.
As long as you find it beautiful, I'm okay. I'm just trying to say that, because here is the thing, okay? And that's another issue that we have. Let's say, you reconnect with someone you haven't seen in a while. What kind of discussion are you going to have? Are you going to kind of complain how difficult it was, how bored you were at home, how challenging it was to have the kids at home? How many people kind of need to vent their frustration, which is completely, legitimate. The thing is, how do you feel when someone starts reconnecting with you, focusing on the negative?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Or even more. That's because in many ways we need to share we need to connect and we need to share. And sometimes we don't realize that when we're in the mood of sharing how terrible, things are, because it can be terrible, the person who is receiving that information might not be ready for it.
No. It's difficult to have someone change their mindset. It's difficult enough for oneself to change. But my philosophy is now everything is fine. Tout est bien. Everything is fine. So I don't have any negative feeling. And any negative thought, I open the door and say, go out.
That's a good one. Open the
out.
door and tell the negative thought. So in some ways, you're kind of describing a little bit what I was going to share with you. Just imagine you have a switch in your mind that you can flip. For Chantal, it's opening the door or the window,
yes.
But that you can flip to kind of access joy. Because in some ways, it is a matter of focus. Do you focus on the challenges or do you focus on the positive? And it can be in small things. Like one of the, again, I think positive, consequences of the situation is that I am lucky enough to have a building that's surrounded by trees. And I've never heard so many birds singing but the past 12 months. I even never seen so many different birds in the past 12 months.
Exactly.
And they start early in the morning. So, part of me could be annoyed that I have this bird concerto at 5 in the morning, outside. I can shut the window, but when it's warm. But then I'm thinking, how lucky am I to have my own birds concerto at 5 in the morning? So it's a switch. It's like, do I focus on how annoying the birds are, or do I focus on how lucky I am?
No.
Because I cannot do anything. I cannot shoot them anyway.
No. What a thing.
No, but sometimes, when there's too much noise, you want to kind of shut the noise off. So, and then of course, here's something that I need to learn more about birds, because they are very noisy in the morning, but not so much in the afternoon and the evening.
And at night, I have a night concert as well.
But do you also have them in the morning versus the evening?
Yes, yes. And I believe it's because the air traffic has been non-existent. Because that comment I hear from many people. Like, for example, last night we met with my singing group and we had to meet outside. We actually were interrupted by the birds. The birds.
Wow.
Yes, it was just incredible. We had to stop and listen to the birds.
But you know what's interesting, what I read somewhere, is that actually we think they're singing, actually they're communicating.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's their communication to say, and again, I at some point I would like to explore more the, communication. I mean, I'm already busy trying to figure out how dogs communicate, how horses communicate, how my cat communicates. And in many ways, it's also a nice way to try to remind ourselves that by paying attention to another species, it's kind of the same thing as when we meet someone we don't know. It's kind of, who are you and what is your nature? What do you like? How do you communicate? And sometimes we think that people are singing when actually they're communicating, or vice versa.
Yes, they were communicating.
So one of the best way, and I hope you're going to help me with that, to pretty much find joy is to be, anybody has an idea?
To be
present in the moment.
Mm.
And you know what is the benefit? How do we know we're present in the moment? Okay, I'm going to go back to Limor. Limor, when you go running, I'm assuming that there are times when your brain is thinking about what you should do and what you'll be doing, right?
You concentrate on your breathing.
Well, but I mean, I'm also hoping that at some point you get in what they call the flow, which is you're just in the moment without doing too much thinking. Do you ever have that feeling?
Hardly, but I mean, I do think, but I think about different things that help me kind of. I think about good things when I run. That's okay. Let's put it that way.
Hopefully it activates positive thought and positive feeling.
I mean, it helps me be more optimistic, more positive, because running typically gives me motivation. And so I do think, but think about good things, not about problems or challenges. So I think about good things.
That's one way to evacuate. Now, have you heard about the flow?
No.
Okay, the flow is being kind of, shared and explained by this, and of course the name is escaping, but it has a long Polish name, because it's all the feeling when you are sometimes doing some physical activity, maybe a bit more intense than running, like skiing, when you really feel like you are part of that movement, when your mind is completely disconnected from in some ways, I mean, your thoughts are not there, you're just in your body, and you feel that you're right now connected to the situation and the moment. And that's one of the best ways to start to really find the joy, because normally it's a good feeling. So if you manage to do that when you have positive thought, but being present, meaning that you don't think of the past and kind of reassess, what did I do? How could I have done better? This kind of situation. And sometimes also not to think about what you should do tomorrow, but being present is it's an easy way to find joy. Does that make any sense?
Oui.
Oui. You don't sound too convinced. But there's a few ways to do that, and we already kind of covered the one for Limor, which is move your body. It's the first step. Moving your body activates, breathing, oxygen, and hopefully kind of get you. Very often, actually, today, a lot of people are doing meetings, walking meetings, because they couldn't meet in the office. So there are a few people that, they kind of shared, even though I'm sure more. You just go somewhere and you walk with the one you have to talk to, because that was the only official way and healthy, safe way to do that. Mm-hmm. And when you move, your body thinks differently. Your brain thinks differently.
That's true.
Okay? So moving is definitely a nice way to figure, and normally when you start to think positive, you can appreciate what you see. It's like for me, I have a bird feeder. I'm still going to take whatever. And it took me also a long time to realize that just watching the bird coming and going there, it's nice because I live in the city. So this kind of situation, are not that easy to see on the street. So you just put yourself in a good mood for at least the moment. Now, here's another one that I'm sure you all do, which is engage in creative activities. So you mentioned singing, Chantal.
Yes.
Martha, you mentioned journaling.
Yes.
Limor, any kind of exciting creative activities you like to do on a regular basis?
Not really. But what I noticed that helps me is engaging with other people. So if I want to do some brainstorming or thinking about different things, so I try to meet with a friend or maybe with, someone else who is, like, for example, if I want to create a new venture or something new, then I'll meet with someone who is also in the process of, working on her business, and it kind of helps to talk with someone else.
And it's a great way also to activate the creativity because we have then, the more brain, the better, the more ideas, and you stimulate each other.
Yeah.
I think they call that the collective intelligence recently. A friend of mine used that word a couple of times.
There is a way to connect engaging with people and being creative. I mean, for example, writing letters, writing thank you notes, all that stuff, engaging while being creative at the same moment. I just love that. I've been pen paling for a couple of years now, with a break last year after my eye surgery. But I've gone back to doing that, and it's always exciting to go to your mailbox and see another envelope, which isn't a bill,
you have a
but just
pen
a
pal.
letter.
You have someone that you write to regularly letters.
A couple of people, in fact. Yeah.
How did you? I mean, again, you don't have to answer if you did, but how did you? Do you belong to a pen club, something, or you just met someone and said, "I'm going to write you letters"? How does it work?
Well, it began with an event which takes place each year in February. It's called IncoWriMo, so International Correspondence Writing Month. You go to their website, you register if you want to. You write a short blurb about yourself, about, who you are, what your interests are, who you'd like to correspond with, and people can write to you. You can also check them out, write to them. Some of them will only write you one letter, and then it's that's it. Some of them won't respond to you. That happens. That's a calculated risk. But some of them will become your pen friends, and you will have someone for years. But that's how it began. But then a couple of months ago, a British novelist, a writer called Michael Jacks, who has a YouTube channel in which he speaks about books, but also pens, inks, papers, all of that stuff. He came up with the idea of a pen pal club, which is hosted on Discord. He invited his subscribers, his viewers, to join if they wanted to. I joined. A couple of people also reached out to me, and yeah, it's pretty exciting.
I'm impressed now. Do you mind putting in the chat the link for the for and because I'm assuming the
Okay.
summit is online, right?
Yeah, I'll check for that, and I'll put it down in a second. I'll have to find it.
Hold on. I mean, it looks like Heidi didn't save the links. I'm going to see if she wants to join even for 5 minutes. Let's see if I can do that better. Hopla.
Mm-hmm.
So let me know. So you write by hand or you write on the computer and you send an actual letter, correct?
I write by hand. I write by hand. I write all my actual letters by hand. With some of these people's, I also keep some form of an online contact, either via email or Discord or things like that. But it's mainly fountain pen, ink, good paper, and snail mail. So
I'm impressed. I'm glad this exists.
waiting a month until you hear back from somebody.
And your pen pal live in which country? They are from which countries?
From the US, from Australia, from Hong Kong. Well, I've had a pen pal I haven't actually written to in a while, but in Norway, and another one in Sweden. But yeah, mainly the US, I think.
I think this is amazing. So this is definitely a great way to connect creativity and relation, and interaction. Now, here is another one that can also help you develop this joy habit, which is to actually create a joy list. You write down what brings you joy. And when I heard about that, I'm like, this is kind of stupid. But then I started to think, no, because the more like we discussed, we focus on what brings you joy or happiness, something positive, the more you realize that there is very often sometimes situation during the day that we overlook. And when we start to pay more attention, actually, it is very nice. Now, again, it depends on your temperament. Some people are more positive than others. Some people are more, looking for happiness than others. But I just thought that just being reminded sometime of just appreciating little simple things definitely brings you a nice positive feeling during the day. Now, what you mentioned also is keeping it kind of similar, to keep a joy journal. And that might be something you can want to share with your pen pal. It's like for 1 month, you guys speak about what brings you happiness, or what you seem to be doing, which is to find a joy buddy and a joy group. That's the benefit of today. There's so many clubs and groups about everything that people like. It's amazing. Sometimes you belong to choral, choirs, anything else, any other group? Like you have some kind of also dog walking groups?
Yes. I have a ladies' lunch club that I belong to in this, secluded part of the world in France. This club has about 125 women of 13 different nationalities. So we meet every month in a very nice restaurant, and it's usually around 50 people. There is a half an hour cocktail time, of course, not during the past year. Then we sit wherever we want. And so we have a chance to meet various women with different interests. You have a chance to get their contact and follow up and meet again individually or the next time. And that club has different activities. There is a walking group, a singing group, a reading group, an art and craft group, a shop and talk group. So everything is in English, I don't know what I say, of course. And it's been in existence for 10 years here in Niger. So that's one of my other activities.
And you have 150 women that get together once a month.
No, we get about 50 once a month. The whole club is 125, but every month about 50. 50.
I'm impressed because we had that things in Prague and at some point it disappeared. So I'm really impressed that you managed to do that in Gers.
Yeah, and there are some women are very committed. There is a club section for health. We get together and go to the hospital and help people who have difficulty with various languages, because not everybody speaks all languages. A painting group from that. It's really it helped me to have a more open life. I met people that I would not have met any other way. We don't. Here there are no cafes. You don't go into a cafe and sit and talk. No, it's not a city. It's country life. So this activity brought me to meet many different kind of women. And from meeting there, from one of the members announced that she was organizing a bilingual literary festival. So that interests me. So we've been working on it for 2 years, and then the pandemic came, so it's on hold. But we are working on that. So culturally, I'm very involved. And then another club.
Okay, hold on, because now we need to, you're just gonna have to hold that thought. He's gonna share the last slide, which is what you guys have been doing, which is when you find this kind of happy, positive activities, and it's good to sharing it. So what you've been telling us, which I find fantastic, is you do get involved with all these different groups that are creative group, that are connecting group, and that brings support to everybody, because obviously, all of this generates a lot of positive feeling and also helps us get connected to each other.
Yeah.
So, be it sharing dinner, sharing lunch, or doing all of these activities, or, keeping in touch with people in writing, it's another way to share. You can call it joy, you can call it positive feelings. It's really more about reaching out and nurturing the relationship. So you guys, I'm really impressed. You're really doing it.
Definitely. And the door is open for any bad feelings.
Well, you mean the door is open to let it out?
Let it out.
Because normally if you say the door is open, it's also a sense of welcoming things. So
No.
The door is open to kind of tell the bad feelings to kind of, because the other thing also that is emotions are contagious. Meaning that, anything positive usually kind of spread out quickly, as much as also everything negative spreads out quickly. So, the challenge is we all have a different situation. Some of us are happy to work from home. Some of us would like to go back to the office. Some of us don't even have an office. But it's important to keep in mind, how we relate to each other and how we share our emotions and our feelings in a way that helps people versus sometimes make them feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I always ask at the end, and you guys can decide, is like, from whatever we spoke about today, which part did you find interesting or useful, or which recommendation, suggestion did you like, and what will you do about it? Now, I understand that you're already kind of on track, so it's going to be a bit more difficult than if you need to change everything. My recommendation, and I just kind of conclusion will be, you mentioned that it's hard to change the mindset. In many ways, yes. Now, you also know that supposedly any habit that you practice for 3 weeks any good intention that you practice for 3 weeks becomes a habit, or at least has a chance to become a habit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so long time. Some project takes longer, but anything you would like to start to implement, and you do your best to do it a little bit every day for 3 weeks, you have a chance to really start to change the mindset and establish something that makes you feel good. Any question?
Yeah, a comment about bad emotions or negative emotions.
What did you say?
But I had a comment about negative emotions, or these bad emotions and leaving the door open, because I tend to be the person to whom others naturally gravitate when they want to vent, when they want to share their not so fun experiences. And I'm talking like divorces, cheating on or being cheated on, miscarriages, depressions,
okay, don't go there,
and
because the more you will think about this, the more you're going to
illnesses.
activate negative thought. Listen,
so
I was saying sometimes we're the one who need to vent, and sometimes people come to us, and that's up to you to kind of create some boundaries so you don't get sucked in. I know being nice sometimes is about listening to people. At the same time, you need, I go back to this, you need to take care of yourself first and find a way to protect yourself from not being affected so much by people's challenges. And I think this is one of the things that many of us kind of had a chance to remember, is that in a time of difficulties, we need to make sure that we're okay before we can do anything for somebody else. And when people cannot help themselves, but just keep on asking for support in their challenging time, kind of create a space and protect yourself. That will be my recommendation.
challenging, but I suppose necessary.
It's important. So we're coming to the end, and I know Limo is definitely, doing her best to keep things on track because of the recording and everything else. Anybody has a question? I think what we've talked about today is not exactly news stories. It's just that as a nice reminder and hopefully a positive closing, which is cultivate, as we go back to a normal life, cultivate some joy and happiness and reach out to people, because that's how we stay stronger together.
Thank you so much, Karin. It was such a pleasure.
Very dynamic presentation, Karin.
Thank you, Chantal. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to have a small group. It will be a bit easier if we have more to kind of bring maybe more challenging questions. At the same time, I'm grateful for you 3 ladies for being here tonight. And I wish you a good rest of the evening.
Merci.
Yeah, thank you.
Ciao, ciao.